Shalom, peace, facing the east towards Jerusalem, or should I say Yerushalayim. Kol Halal Yahweh Basham Yahushai Basham Rachah Kadash. That's Hebrew for all praise Yahweh, in the name Yahushai, in the name Holy Spirit. Give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, as well as honor to the men under the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. Now this video is going to be a short one. I was meant to do this in the previous video, but I went off topic. So this one, what I want to talk about in this video is the fact that the month starts with the new moon. The new moon is what starts off a month, not the full moon. The full moon is halfway through the month. Even the lunar cycles show you this. It doesn't start with full moon, it always starts with new moon. The word month goes back to the word moon. You look at an etymology, for example, ETYM online. Month is a noun, 1/12 part of the year, one of the 12 parts into which the calendar year is arbitrarily divided. Old English monao from Proto-Germanic monoth, of Old Saxon manoth, Old Frisian monath. Basically, if you keep going down, you're going to see it's related to menon, which is moon. Originally, the month was the interval between one new moon and the next. So new month equals new moon. The new moon is when the month starts. And the time between two new moons is 29.5 days. So the time between one month starting and the other month starting, based on the lunar calendar, is on average 29.5 days. And the scriptures go off the lunar cycle. The children of Israel went off the lunar cycle. Their God Yahweh had them go off the lunar cycle. Sirach chapter 43 verses 6 through 8. He made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration, for a telling of times and a sign of the world. Verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast, like the feast in Leviticus 23, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Tabernacles. A light that decreaseth in her perfection. The perfection of the moon there is talking about when it's a full moon, because that's when it's fully bright. That's when its light is perfect. From the full moon to the new moon, it decreases. Because once it's bright, 100% bright, it can only get less brighter. It can't get any more brighter once it's fully bright, once it's perfectly bright. And you see that with the lunar cycles. When you look at the lunar cycles, look at the order. The order is new moon, then waxing crescent moon. Waxing crescent moon is when you've got the light increasing. First quarter moon is the moon at the end of the first, what the moon looks like at the end of the first week. Waxing gibbous moon is during the second week. Full moon is at the end of the second week, which would be halfway through the month. 6, or waning gibbous moon. Waning is decreasing. And that waning gibbous moon takes place during the third week. Third quarter moon takes place at the end of what the moon looks like at the end of the third week. And then waning crescent moon is during the last week. And then when the brightness is basically 0%, that's when you have the next month, which would the new moon for the next month. So it starts off with new moon, waxing crescent moon, first quarter moon, waxing gibbous moon, full moon. If the month started with full moon, then it would be order number 1. But it doesn't. A full moon, based on the lunar cycle, is always halfway through the month, at the end of the second week. Look what it says here on this website. Primary moon phases happen at a specific moment in time, while the times between these moments are the intermediate moon phases. The intermediate moon phases are the moon phases that occur between between two quarters. No, intermediate is what happens between two phases. The intermediate moon phases are what happens between the two primary phases, like the new moon and first quarter moon. Between them, you've got a waxing crescent moon. Primary moon phases happen at an exact moment in time, while the times between these moments are the intermediate moon phases. The lunar cycle, the cycle based on the moon, lasts about 29.5 days, just under a calendar month. 29.5 days is also the time between two new moons on average. New moon, moon phase primary. Illumination, as in brightness, is 0% approximately. It's about 0%. Waxing crescent moon, it's an intermediate moon phase. Happens between two primary ones. Which two primary ones? The new moon and the first quarter moon, which is what the moon looks like at the end of the first week. Illumination, 0 to 50%. Well, it's more than 50%, 0% brightness, but less than 50% brightness. First quarter moon is a primary moon phase. Happens at the end of the first week. It's about 50% bright. Then you've got waxing gibbous moon. This takes place during the second quarter, during the second week, and it's an intermediate moon phase. This is a moon phase that takes place between the first quarter moon, basically when moon is about 50% bright at the end of the first week, and it takes place between the first quarter moon and the full moon. Waxing gibbous, waxing means increasing. The brightness is increasing from 50% and it's working its way up until it reaches 100%, and it'll reach 100% with the primary moon phase full moon. Full moon takes place at the end of the second quarter, at the end of the second week, so it takes place halfway through the month. Illumination, about 100% bright. 100% it says approximately. This is when the moon is in its perfection in terms of light. Can't be any brighter, can't be any lighter. Waning gibbous moon is an intermediate moon phase. It takes place between the full moon and the third quarter moon. And the illumination is less than 100% brightness, but greater than 50% brightness. And then you've got the third quarter moon, with half moon on the other, reversed. Primary moon phase, it's about 50% bright. And it takes place at the end of the third week. That cycle occurs at the end of the third week. Waning crescent moon is an intermediate one. So it takes place between the third quarter moon phase and the next new moon phase. The waning means lessening. So the brightness of the moon is getting less and less. It's less than 50% brightness, but greater than 0%. the day before the new moon, which would be like the last day of the current month, right? It's nearly 0% brightness, so it's nearly no brightness. Sirach 43:7. From the moon is the sign of peace, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. New month equals new moon. New moon is when a month starts. The time between two, what do I call it? Full moon is when the moon is at its brightest, and it takes place halfway through the month. It takes place at the end of the second quarter, end of the second week. The full moon, basically the cycles of the moon do not start with the full moon, because there has to be a point where, well, it doesn't start the full moon because the first week of first quarter takes place before the new moon. Sorry, I got that wording wrong. The full moon is not the start of, cannot be the start of a month due to where it takes place in the lunar cycle, its position in the lunar cycle. It occurs after the first week and during the end of the second week, unlike the new moon, which starts before the end of the first week, because it is the start of the month. New moon starts in week 1. It starts off the month, so it occurs in week 1, the earliest point of week 1, whereas the full moon occurs at the end of week 2. Just more on the fact that the full moon cannot decide, the month does not start with the full moon. Full moon is halfway through a month, not the start. The new moon, new month. That's when the month starts. Time between two new moons, on average 29.5 days. Even here it gets it right. AI overview. The lunar cycle is the 29.5 day 8-phase progression. The 8-phase progression is 4 primary phases and 4 intermediate phases. Phases are changes. Quarters are weeks. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Quarters, weeks. Of the moon's appearance, what the moon looks like as it orbits the earth and changes position relative to the sun, reflecting different amounts of light. It flows from new moon dark to full moon and back, taking about 1 month to complete. So it starts off at 0% brightness, then to full brightness, then back to 0% brightness, and it takes about a month to complete. Duration. The cycle takes roughly 29.5 days to complete, moving from one new moon to the next. So it actually got it right. The AI overview actually got it right. And that's all I want to say, pretty much. Full moon takes place, as you can see over here in terms of the order. Full moon is at number 5, whereas new moon is at number 1. If the month started with the full moon, it would be here. It doesn't go from full moon to 0% brightness and then 0% brightness to full moon. No, it goes 0% brightness to full brightness, then back to 0% brightness. New moon to new moon. Hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, Shalom.